My husband is as unassuming as a chrysanthemum. My parents pulled strings to get him a job, but he just railed against how bureaucracy corrupts society. He got into trouble and couldn't graduate, so I sent gifts to his advisor. He turned around and reported me, saying I was fostering corruption. I worked tirelessly to manage our household, and all he says is, don't be so materialistic in life. For 60 years of marriage, his only contribution was a passive, conflict-avoidant presence. But after I passed away, before the first week of mourning was even over, he couldn't wait to marry his first love, penning the line, 6 decades we lived apart. No letter could convey my longing heart. It pissed me off so much I came back to life. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I got my marriage license at 23. Hold the wedding, I'm going to grad school, trying to win me back, he said. There's nothing between me and Einar, I'm sick of saying it myself. I rolled my eyes and sneered, what the hell are you even saying, tough guy? I died of illness at the age of 83. Before my first week memorial had even passed, the husband I'd spent 60 years with made a grand, public spectacle of marrying his first love, Xiaoyin. It was so infuriating it made me laugh. Xiaoyin was nowhere near my league even in her youth, and now she's aged into a downright fright. You must be truly desperate, old man, to sink your teeth into that. When I think about it, there were always so many suspicious things about Lin Qing and Xiaoyin's relationship. They kept in touch on and off for a full 60 years. And in the end, they simply outlived me. He brought her home as his wife, to live in the house I had bought. They invited a house full of guests. The living room couldn't even hold them all. To make room for their wedding photos and red candles, they just moved my portrait right out. Lin Cheng's face showed no trace of a man who had just lost his wife. He was positively beaming. Then again, he was marrying the woman he loved most in his life. I still remember when we got married, he said, let's skip the wedding banquet. My personal marriage isn't a big deal. No need to waste everyone's time and energy. Looking back now, he probably looked down on me. Marrying a woman reeking of money like me was too shameful for him. It had to be done in secret to protect his precious reputation. To show their gratitude to the guests, Lin Qing played the qin, while Xiaoyin danced to the music. He played slowly, and she moved with faltering steps, just like a couple who had endured great hardship and finally reconciled. I was with him for 60 years, and not once did he play the qin for me. I asked him to, but he said, the qin should be played only for a true confidant. It turns out that Xiaoyin was his one and only true confidant all along. Lin Qing, your first wife is watching from heaven. I wanted to scream, to roar, but not a sound escaped my lips. It was time for the speeches. With tears in his eyes, he said, Zhao Min was too calculating. I've lived my whole life in exhaustion, never truly following my own heart. Einar has a gentle and serene nature. She was always the right match for me. If not for Zhao Min's coercion, we would have been together long ago. Thankfully, it's not too late now. Xiaoyin, I love you, in this life and forever. I am yours and yours alone. The old, wretched couple held each other's hands tightly, gazing into each other's wrinkled, aged faces. I saw a depth of emotion in Lin Qing's expression that I had never witnessed before. I was suddenly struck by how utterly ridiculous I must have seemed. After we married, I called him husband. But he would frown and tell me to just use his name, saying it was too mushy. I never once heard him say I love you while he was alive. After my death, I heard him say it to another woman. Finally, amidst everyone's blessings, he wrote in his precise regular script, 60 years of separation, yet no letter can truly convey this song of longing. With a single sentence, he dismissed all my years of toil. For 60 years, not a single minute passed without him thinking of his first love. The soul knows no tears, yet as I laughed, I suddenly felt my cheeks grow wet. Perfect. I'm such a blind, stupid fool. I wept with a heart-wrenching sorrow. The 60 years of betrayal can never be reclaimed. My heart suddenly seized, and the pain sent me into a dead faint. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day we got our marriage certificate. I was only 23 that year. I came from a well-off family. My father worked in the transportation sector, and my mother, from a family of scholars, was a renowned painter. Lin Qing came from a humble background, having made it to a university from a small county town. I've always been drawn to his serene, unassuming nature, completely indifferent to fame and fortune. It took me a whole year to finally win him over. I introduced him to my parents, but they didn't approve of our marriage. Lin Qing stood up and left on the spot, telling me not to contact him again. He didn't want to be seen as someone climbing the social ladder by association. I knelt before my parents, pleading through tears, and repeatedly assured them that he was truly a driven and outstanding young man who would never rely on my family after we married. The moment my parents gave their tentative approval, I rushed to find Lin Qing with the good news. he replied with lukewarm indifference. Oh, really? You didn't have to go to all that trouble. It's not like I'm desperate to marry you. I was convinced he was upset, so I pulled out all the stops to try and cheer him up. He finally relented, albeit reluctantly, with a mumbled, "All right, fine." He got married right after graduation. He tried to find a job, but he could never even make it through the probation period before being let go. He had an inflated sense of self-importance. Coming from a prestigious university, he felt above menial tasks. He was also a busybody who couldn't stand to see managers reprimand their subordinates and would often butt in. His resume wasn't particularly impressive in City A. His parents claimed they wouldn't help us at all, but behind the scenes, they quietly pulled strings for him, hoping he'd land a decent job so I could have a better life too. He managed to offend every single one of his parents' friends, in the end, whether it was private companies or state-owned enterprises. None of the decent ones would take him. He simply couldn't find a job in City A. He was still at home complaining, "Those people are so full of themselves, every last one of them is a parasite on society. I'd never stoop to their level. I'd rather live a simple, unremarkable life than compromise my principles." My heart went out to him. "Why don't you try going back to school? I'll take care of supporting the family." So, living off my support, he went back to school, during his PhD. He nearly didn't graduate because he got into a spat with his advisor over some minor issue. I dropped everything I was doing to apologize to my advisor and even gave him quite a few gifts. He actually went behind my back and secretly reported the advisor for accepting the gifts. It created an incredibly awkward situation that my father eventually had to step in to resolve. He frowned at me, clearly thinking he was in the right and looking disappointed in me. "What you're doing only encourages this kind of unethical behavior," he said. This time, I finally couldn't hold back. "What have you actually contributed to this family since we got married?" He shot to his feet. "All you see is money, money, money. How could I have married a woman like you? Our son is born, and instead of staying home to care for him, you're out all day, God knows doing what. This is just who I am." Lynching. "If you're so vain and power-hungry, go chase it yourself." I later felt some regret. I had gone too far, wounded his pride, and even had to swallow mine and apologize. To make it up to him, when he was up for his professional promotion, I even swallowed my pride and went to beg my uncle for help. You could say, all the smooth sailing in his life was my doing. Without me, he never would have become that renowned professor. Of course he gets to play the aloof, contented scholar. The entire family's expenses were on my shoulders, and I was the one pulling all the shady strings for him behind the scenes. Naturally, he never had to swallow his pride and compromise. Because I swallowed every bit of humiliation for him. But now that I'm dead, he's successful, promoted, wealthy, and rid of his wife. The perfect timing to rekindle things with his first love. "Just sign here." I snapped back to reality. The clerk in front of me handed me a pen, gesturing for me to sign the marriage registration form. I glanced sideways. Lynching, sitting beside me, wore a detached expression. Not a trace of marital joy on his face, for the 60 years of our marriage. He remained just like that, never once gracing me with a smile. I gently ran my fingers over my face. The wrinkles from all the hard work I'd done for him were gone. My skin was smooth and delicate again. The youth he had squandered had returned to me. Taking a deep breath, I threw the pen back onto the table. "Let's put the wedding on hold. I'm going back to prepare for my postgraduate entrance exams." For the first time, an emotion flickered across Lin Cheng's usually impassive, stone-cold face. He furrowed his brow. "What's all this about?" With just those 3 simple words, he made me out to be the unreasonable one. Back then, the moment he pulled a long face, I would cave in and try to cheer him up. It happened so often that I started to believe I must be the one at fault, that I was the one who had wronged the ever-serene Professor Lin. Given this rare second chance at life, I'm done playing servant. I couldn't be bothered to argue. I just grabbed my bag and left. To my surprise, Lin Cheng strode after me, clearly agitated. "Wait, Zhao Min, let's get this straight." He grabbed my wrist, and a shudder ran through my entire body. Frankly, that touch of his made me sick to my stomach. "I thought I made myself perfectly clear," I said, wrenching my hand free and wiping it on my pants. He noticed my movement, his pupils contracting slightly. "You're not going to marry me anymore." I fought back the urge to curse. With so many people around, making a scene would land us in the news. "I told you I'm going to prepare for the graduate entrance exam, you understand, right?" I stared straight at him, his face stiffened. "Oh, right, of course." With a satisfied smile, I turned and walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Bathed in the warm sunlight, I finally allowed myself to believe I was truly alive again. Wasn't my 60-year marriage just a nauseating prison to me? I didn't leave him because I still had feelings for him. He tormented me for 60 years, and I will personally cast him into the abyss. My talk of taking the postgraduate entrance exam wasn't just an excuse. Having lived a past life, I came to deeply understand just how crucial it is for a woman to pursue her education. With my outstanding grades and numerous competition awards, getting a guaranteed postgraduate placement is absolutely no problem. But to marry him, I gave up my guaranteed graduate school placement, found a job early, and worked diligently to support our family, and all I got in return was his talk of us going our separate ways. Such a highbrow insult. You'd need to be well read just to understand it. There's still over half a year until the postgraduate entrance exams. There's still time. My mother called to check in on me. Weren't you the one who insisted on marrying him? What's going on? Hearing her voice after so long brought a pang of sadness. I was such a foolish, lovesick fool, causing my parents endless worry. Mom, I want to further my education while I'm still young. It'll be useful later on. Thinking back to my past life, when I faced a crucial promotion opportunity, my performance was outstanding, but having only a bachelor's degree meant I had to stop right there. The thought still makes my blood boil. My parents were immensely relieved. They promptly sent me money and urged me to sign up for the postgraduate entrance exam prep course right away, so as not to fall behind schedule. Even if I never worked a day in my life, my family's assets would be enough to support me for a lifetime. But Lin Ching was in a tough spot. Without my financial support, he could barely afford to eat. We had no contact whatsoever. Given his prideful nature, there was no way he would call me first. I was in such a hurry in my last life. This time around, I'm just letting things be. The more you indulge him, the more he acts up, really starting to think he's something special. He didn't ask, I didn't tell. It was a perfect match from the start. Barely a week had passed before he couldn't hold back anymore. He called me, his voice cold and hard. That's about enough. Playing a little hard to get is cute, but know when to stop. I'm too busy. The grad school entrance exam is my priority, I replied offhandedly. He was silent for a long moment. We could study together. I could even help you. We had both graduated. He couldn't stay in the dorms, and he didn't even have money for food, let alone rent an apartment. I almost laughed, but I seem to recall my GPA was higher than yours, so I don't think that's necessary. He seemed to be holding back. I don't have any money for food. How ironic. He never liked it when I brought up money, because I was always the one who solved our financial problems. Now it's his turn to worry about money. It's fine, money can't be eaten, I threw his own words back at him. You can always eat something that doesn't cost money. My retort finally got to him, and he snapped. So your family's rich, big deal. Why do you always have to hit a man when he's down? I sighed. You've got 2 hands and 2 feet. Why not just go get a job? That was a pointless thing to say. If he could stand the grind of a real job, he wouldn't be broke in the first place. Don't think I can't manage without you, Zhao Min. He fumed before slamming down the phone. As it turned out, he couldn't manage at all. He ended up at a fast food joint run by a friend, who only hired him as a favor to me, and even then, it was a reluctant offer. One day, my friend came to me with a complaint. Lin Ching, who was working as a waiter and delivery boy, had mixed up a customer's drink order. The customer complained a bit, and their words weren't exactly pleasant. He then proceeded to pour the entire drink over the person's head. I had my friends send me the video, which I then personally posted online. The video hit over 10 million reposts in just one day, earning the new nickname Fast Food Lunatic. My friend fired Lin Ching, but I didn't think that was enough. Dock another month's pay, I said. Consider it as compensation to the shop. My friend chuckled. What's this? No longer feeling sorry for your precious boyfriend? That's making him work a whole month for free. If I let him walk away with a single cent, then I'm not Zhao Min. Lin Ching was kicked out without a penny to his name. With room and board gone, he was left with absolutely nowhere to go. He reached out to me again. Min, I tried getting a regular job, but it just didn't work out. Every single time he messed up at work, he'd call me that greasy nickname. I must have been out of my mind back then. The moment he said it, my heart would soften, and I'd clean up his mess. It's fine, you're famous now, you can do live stream sales. How is that not considered making it in life? Seeing that I wasn't taking the bait and was even mocking him, he gritted his teeth and said, how could I ever be with a woman like you? Whatever, I'm done putting up with his attitude, just as expected. He went running back to Xia Yin, his kindred spirit. Xia Yin attended a second-tier university right across the street from ours, just 1 block apart, but the difference in academic prestige was worlds apart. Lin Ching was a prodigy from the mountains, and Xia Yin's success in getting into university made her a standout in her own right. She was a year younger than Lin Ching, And he went to great lengths to help her with her college entrance exams. I was so naive. I actually believed their friendship was purely platonic, as fate would have it. When I went back to the school to take care of some business, I ran into both of them. Xiaoyin was bringing Lynching his lunch, out of sight, out of mind. I lifted my foot, ready to walk past. Xiaoyin stopped me. Minjia, isn't that enough? Brother Lin has suffered quite a bit lately. I raised an eyebrow. Has playing the other woman addled your brain? How dare you try to guilt-trip the actual partner? Hearing this, her eyes welled up with tears. How can you say that? Lynching shielded her, stepping forward. If you have a problem, take it up with me. You're just being paranoid. There's nothing between us. I'm sick of having to say it. I didn't even want to curse him out, but he walked right into it. What the hell are you talking about, Mr. Tough Guy? Stop playing the damn saint. If I hadn't seen with my own eyes after death how sweet their twilight romance was. Lynching would have fooled me again this time. The sight of them just irritates me. They've turned my perfectly good life into a complete joke. Thank goodness I got a second chance and wasn't sent straight to the underworld. Otherwise, my best friends would have laughed me into the grave, and my parents would have killed me with their scolding. I just walked away, completely oblivious to the venomous glare Xiaoyin shot my way. She was talented in both singing and dancing, with a fresh, innocent look that made her the campus belle at university. After suffering such a massive injustice at my hands, there's no way she wouldn't seek payback. She wrote a lengthy post on her social media, a 1,000-word essay. My name was never mentioned, yet every single line was about me. It detailed how I abused my power and bullied an innocent girl from a small town. All her lackeys helped repost it, including Lynching. He's so fond of playing the righteous hero. Of course he'd help his favorite woman. The incident in Lynching, which is always a hot topic, was posted online again. Netizens commented, "We were wrong about the fast food guy. Turns out he was forced into being a waiter by his materialistic girlfriend, a talented man brought low. That crazy woman is despicable, lashing out at everyone and slandering an innocent, pure-hearted girl." The situation even escalated into an issue of discrimination, with students from top-ranked schools looking down on those from ordinary ones. Word got back to the school and my parents. I was called in for a talk, and my mother rushed over to accompany me. "How did things get to this point?" she asked, pulling me aside after the meeting, her face full of concern. A short, unsubstantiated essay wouldn't get me formally punished by the school, but it could damage my reputation and hinder my plans for graduate school or the civil service exam. Don't worry. The truth will out on its own. There's no need to get caught in a cycle of self-justification. You and Dad should stay out of it. I'll speak up if I need to. Xiaoyin is a minor influencer who occasionally goes live, making money from the virtual gifts her viewers send. She deliberately steered the situation, and my personal information was leaked. My phone was flooded with calls, and my social media was bombarded with abusive private messages. After getting back, I pulled out my SIM card and deactivated all my social media accounts. I got a new phone number and created a bunch of alternate accounts. I took a close look at Xiaoyin's account. She often shows off gifts from her fans, so I took screenshots for my records. My best friend told me she has Xiaoyin's WeChat. I noticed some of the items she posted in her social media feed look suspiciously like the ones that mysteriously went missing from me. There was a bracelet, some earrings, and even the birthday gift Lynching gave me last year. He gave me a necklace. It wasn't expensive, but he had saved up to buy it, and I was deeply touched. I've worn it every single day since. One day, he came to my place and then just vanished. I found the dorm conditions poor, so I lived off campus. I'd occasionally invite Lynching over to my place to hang out and cook for him, but he was always reluctant. "It's improper for an unmarried couple to visit each other's homes," he'd say. "I mean, it's not like we're living in the Qing dynasty. We're in a normal relationship, so what's the big deal?" After thinking about it for a long time, I realized that every time Lynching came over, some of my little pieces of jewelry would go missing. I'm not big on tidying up, so my room is always a bit of a mess. If something got lost, I figured it was no big deal. They weren't very valuable anyway, but the idea of my boyfriend stealing my things to give to someone else, that's just disgusting. "You really don't need to get me anything for the holidays. I have everything I need, and these occasions are just commercial traps." He says that, but he never turns down a gift from me. The only things he ever withholds are the gifts meant for me. Last year, he actually bought me something. I thought he'd had a change of heart, so he was just waiting to take it back. I can't believe I was so blind at such a young age. It was so obvious, yet in my past life, I never noticed a thing. I guess I was just too overconfident. Just as I was beating my chest in frustration over my own stupidity, there was a knock at the door. Through the video doorbell, I saw Lin Ching standing outside, holding a whole bunch of stuff. The doorbell has an intercom, but I don't feel like answering the door. Well, look who it is. You never came when I invited you. He kept looking around nervously, like someone sneaking into a shady massage parlor, terrified of being spotted by someone he knows. I had no idea that being with me was such a burden for him. Open the door first. I was speechless. Just put it down and leave. Min, I came to see how you're doing. He swallowed his temper and condescended to be here. This whole slap then a candy routine wasn't even his invention. How could he be so sure I'd fall for it? He's alive, you can rest easy now. He couldn't keep up the act for more than 3 sentences. That's enough. You got what you deserved for insulting Enine for no reason. I'll have her set the record straight. Don't let it happen again. After all, we're still a couple. Forget about grad school. Marry me quickly and settle down. What does a woman need with a fancy degree? She needs a home. I'll move in tomorrow. Let's try living together first. What a blessing from heaven. That just cracks me up. How can you be so shameless? You think just because you two say something, the internet will believe it. People want proof. You flap your gums so much. But all that talking just earned you the nickname fast food lunatic. He flushed red with anger. I'm giving you a way out and you won't take it. Do you really think your family's dirty money can just make this go away? Oh, so now you're playing the victim. What's your sob story? Isn't Enine the one who's been suffering here? I didn't want to waste my breath arguing with him any further. I called security, and a commotion erupted outside. He suddenly pressed against the door and shouted, Zhao Min, have you come back too? I was startled. That was a strange thing to say. My phone suddenly pushed me an article titled, People Can Awaken Memories That Aren't Their Own When Under Stress. Clatter. The phone hit the floor. I had just been provoking him relentlessly. And then security showed up and chased him off like he was a thief. He had never suffered such a profound humiliation. Perhaps in his rage, under the strain of extreme emotion, memories from a past life awakened within him. Not long after he left, I opened my phone again and found that Xia Yin had hidden all her social media posts. He woke up too late. I had already secured everything. A sudden thrill shot through me. Beating him with an information advantage was one thing. But the thought of him living a whole new life only to be crushed under my heel, now that was truly exhilarating. Under such perfectly fair conditions, what new tricks could my mild-mannered, unassuming husband possibly pull? Time was of the essence. I quickly compiled my spending records for lynching and the screenshots from Xiaoyin's social media into a single PDF. I always keep my receipts when I buy things, so I have proof for every single item he stole. One coincidence is nothing. But when every single detail matches up, it tells the whole story. During the days lynching and I were on the outs, I wasn't idle. I kept tabs on him, watching what he was up to. He's a complete and utter freeloader, and there's no changing that. Since they couldn't freeload off me anymore, they started tailing Xia Yin. I managed to snap quite a few photos on the sly. I went through all the gifts Xia Yin flaunted online. Every time, a luxury handbag was placed in the most prominent spot. This isn't something an average fan could afford. She's just a minor influencer with a few tens of thousands of followers, and her regular spending isn't light either. Where on earth is she getting the money for all these bags? I sent pictures of all these bags to my best friend. She's got a real eye for this stuff and can spot a fake from a mile away. Holy crap, it's all true, but it feels familiar. Wang Yu seemed to have bought these bags before. I heard he gave them to his girlfriend. She's the biggest gossip. Wang Yu has been our classmate since we were kids, a total rich kid. I found out he really did post about buying bags for his girlfriend. After checking them one by one, it was almost a perfect match. Lin Ching has been reborn, so he's not an easy target, but Xia Yin probably can't handle the pressure. Once I'd made up my mind, I put my old SIM card back in and added Xia Yin on WeChat. Openly and without any pretense, her message positively dripped with smugness. Is Sister Minmin here to apologize? It's okay, I forgive you. I smirked. I think it's more likely you'll be the one on your knees, begging for my forgiveness. I sent the PDF over. Take a good look. You were just playing the victim and talking nonsense. I, on the other hand, have proof. Oh, and I bet you didn't know Wang Yu and I were elementary school classmates, did you? Want me to send him the details about you and lynching? You know better than I do how he'd react if he found out you're using his money to support another man. A moment later, my phone lit up with an incoming call. /Zhao Min, what do you want? Her voice was trembling uncontrollably. Seeing that my fish had taken the bait, I laid out my terms. First, don't breathe a word about today to Lin Ching. Second, you will issue a public apology to me on every platform. Okay, I promise. I'll cut things off with Brother Ching. She pleaded repeatedly, too bad, I never keep my promises to scheming women. I embellished the details about lynching and Xiaoyin, then sent all our chats and call records to Wang Yu. He was out drinking when he heard the news, and they say he was so furious he smashed the table on the spot. Xiaoyin is in for a rough time now. That spoiled rich kid not only forced Xiaoyin to apologize to me, but also ordered her to go live and confess everything about how she deceived his feelings and framed me. Wang Yu stormed over to Xiaoyin's school. The sum of money involved was too large, and since she was suspected of fraud, she was expelled on the spot. She fought tooth and nail to escape her impoverished hometown, only to have it all come crashing down in an instant. This time, Lin Qing played it smart and kept his mouth shut. Netizens directed all their fury at Xiaoyin, while he managed to slip away unscathed, avoiding the worst of the fallout. After things had quieted down for a while, he issued a statement. It was the classic line, I only ever saw her as a little sister. He recounted how he helped her get into university and maintained appropriate boundaries in their subsequent interactions, avoiding overly familiar behavior. Surprisingly, some so-called friends even took his side and spoke up for him. It seems his recent struggles weren't in vain. He's finally learned how to handle things. Shedding his former aloofness, he took the initiative to treat his roommates and club colleagues to a meal. The money was definitely swiped from Xiaoyin, so in a roundabout way, I was spending Wang Yu's cash to clear my own name. He who eats another's bread is bound to sing his tune. Having accepted the meal, I couldn't very well not put in a good word for him. Netizens also judged him to be an innocent, good man who had been deceived by Xiaoyin. That day, I had just come downstairs when I saw Lin Qing leaning against the wall, waiting for me. I glanced back. The security camera was only a meter away, and the guard post was close by too. He wouldn't dare try anything. What is it? I spoke up first. Lin Qing approached, his aura noticeably different. Minmin, I have to admit, you're a good wife. You've changed me a lot. Those techniques of yours really do work. He was already full of himself on a normal day. Now that he's been reborn, he's practically strutting around like a peacock. I gave a faint smile. Of course, stray dogs just scavenge for scraps. Would you like me to chew it up and feed it to you? Don't be so stubborn now. As expected of a man in his 80s, Lin Qing was much more composed. You're just upset that I married Xiaoyin after you passed away. I know I was wrong. This time, we are united as husband and wife, so it's naturally different from our past life. He reached out his hand to me. I spat the chewed-up gum directly into his palm. Don't flatter yourself. After failing to get that promotion in my past life, I started my own business. To my surprise, it was a huge success. Everything went smoothly, and even Lin Qing got to live a life of luxury because of it. He's not that poor kid from the sticks anymore. He's grown accustomed to the good life and can't handle the slightest hardship. That's the only reason he's been stringing me along. Making an honest fortune is just too damn hard. It's much sweeter to live off someone else. That's the wisdom he's gathered in his 80 years. Lin Qing glared at me furiously, the piece of bubble gum in his hand a dilemma. To throw it away or keep it. Zhao Min, this is the last time. You just wait. He spat out before turning and leaving. He's like a piece of chewed-up gum, utterly useless and annoyingly clingy. He couldn't afford to take a gap year to prepare for grad school, so he had to find a job first. But to my surprise, he managed to woo Miss Yang, a young lady from a prominent family, by living frugally, and naturally landed a job in her family's company. Well, good for him. At least he's got a pretty face going for him. A leopard can't change its spots. A man who's determined to be a social climber won't change his ways. Not in this life or the next. The only way to stop him from causing more harm is to send him straight to hell, to be reborn as a beast. Miss Yang paid no mind to the gossip and rumors about his past. She was convinced it was all a misunderstanding, believing her darling boyfriend was a truly good man, unambitious, content, and free from worldly strife. She sought me out specifically for this, arranging to meet at a cafe. Ms. Zhao, you and Ching had your differences in the past, but that's all water under the bridge now. She was referring to how Lin Qing has had a hard time in the industry because of me. Before, no company would hire him. Now that Yang Corp he's not delivering results. It's going to be difficult for Mr. Yang to justify this, especially given the substantial salary he's on. After I got into the master's program, my advisor frequently brought me into the research group to work on projects. Lin Qing is way out of his league, but he's always trying to compete with my team. He's utterly useless, but he's too clueless to see it. He only got that professorship last time because I bankrolled and pulled strings for him. His so-called expertise is only good for the lab and the classroom. It's completely unworkable for large-scale production, which is why Young Corp keeps losing money. I've always felt that since his rebirth. He's been overconfident to the point of blindness. And he might not even have the same drive he used to, there's just no helping it, even with the Young family backing him, he can't seem to close a single deal. I set down my coffee, the rich bitterness spreading in my mouth. You're overthinking it, I just didn't give him special treatment like I used to, because now I have you. Of course, my parents feel for me. After learning what a despicable scoundrel lynching was, they went out of their way to make trouble for him. I didn't stop them, it would have been a shame to waste their good intentions. Anyway, we're getting married, let's just let bygones be bygones. I apologize on his behalf for all the wrong he's done. Miss Young stood up and bowed. I also rose to my feet, stepping aside to avoid accepting her gesture. Lynching has learned a thing or two, he's finally figured out how to butter people up. I looked at the ring on her finger, she smiled sheepishly. Yes, he's very good to me. If he's so good to you, why would he give you a fake? I asked, raising an eyebrow. My mother has a collection of items, including quite a few pieces of jewelry. Having learned from her, my ability to appraise jewelry is better than most. I can guarantee you this is a fake, but he did put thought into it. This is a high-quality replica that most people wouldn't be able to spot. Miss Young covered her fingers awkwardly. He must have been taken for a ride. I'll have a word with him when I get back. He's a grown man, if he can't even apologize for himself. I can't imagine there's much hope in a future with him. It was advice from someone who's been there, but sadly, she didn't take it. The next time I heard news about them, the whole city of A knew about it. Miss Young got pregnant out of wedlock, sending Mr. Young into a rage. He disapproved of his daughter's marriage to that penniless young man, but lynching had the audacity to knock her up. Using the child as leverage to force his hand, I sighed repeatedly. At least he used to be a hypocrite. Now, with that mask off, he's worse than a beast. He pulled up in his luxury car outside my apartment building once again. Zhao Min, when will you learn not to look down on a young man in his humble beginnings? I scoffed, looking at him like a dog in its death throes. And said quietly, you know what? I thought you still had a conscience. I was giving you too much credit. Your words can't provoke me anymore. I'm not some green kid. Learning from you was the right move. Using any means to achieve my ends. It feels damn good. His eyes were filled with a greedy light. I shook my head. Learn from me. He was rotten to the core from the start. It was his own desires that lit the fuse, unleashing all that wickedness. What does that have to do with me? For every demonic trick, there is a divine counter. He laughed. Zhao Min, I'll be waiting for the day you get down on your knees and beg me. I watched his retreating figure. How could I possibly stand by and watch him devour the entire Young family fortune? Little did he know, I had already accounted for everything he stole. I was just biding my time before taking action. After being disciplined, Xia Yin became much more compliant and even volunteered to testify. But lynching is as tenacious as a cockroach, and Miss Yang will protect him for the sake of the child she's carrying. We met again at the same coffee shop. This time, I was the one who asked her out. She's a simple soul, harboring no ill will toward me, her predecessor. It's clear she's a poor girl genuinely in love with that scoundrel. When's the wedding date? She smiled shyly. The 15th of next month. I nodded and handed her the phone. Her face instantly drained of color. Miss Zhao, I can return all the money to you. I beg you. I tapped my fingers on the table. I don't need the money. What I can't stand is seeing a scumbag like him get away with it. What do you gain by marrying him and having this child? A father with a criminal record will rob your child of every future opportunity. The more I spoke, the paler she became, looking as if she might collapse at any moment. You take care of yourself, too. This isn't about you or the baby. A person like him can't stay. I'm doing this for you. Just as she was about to plead with me again, I handed her a manila envelope. I didn't want to upset you further, but we have to clear the air today. She went through the documents again and again, then slammed them down on the table and broke down sobbing. How could he do this to me? I loved him so much. Lynching had tasted the good life, and his appetite had grown. These were the dual contracts he signed with the Young Corporation, siphoning off hundreds of millions in funds. If I hadn't discovered through my covert investigation that the Young Corporation's books were cooked, it would have been Miss Yang's father who took the fall. Once her father was locked up, her entire life would have been at Lin Cheng's mercy. After all this, you still want to take his side? I gently shattered the last line of defense in her heart. Even though she was blinded by love, she couldn't just throw all principles out the window. In my past life, she took my miserable fate for her own, yet I feel no relief or joy. By earnestly advising her now and pulling her out of the mire, I am also saving the person I was back then. I reported him to the police for theft. With both witnesses and material evidence at hand, it took several summons before he finally deigned to show up. He carried himself with a careless air, clearly banking on the Yang family to back him up. Zhao Min, don't waste your effort, my time is valuable. His entire outfit had been upgraded by more than a few notches. He bought Miss Yang counterfeit goods, yet she gave him her unwavering devotion. I can't believe it, we were in a relationship, and you're being this stingy over such a trivial matter. That holier-than-thou attitude of his, acting like money is beneath him, came right back. I'm willing to give you all the money back, consider it a blessing for the child about to be born. I have to say, since he entered the real world, he hasn't learned anything of substance, but he's mastered the art of being a two-faced hypocrite to a T. This entire conversation is being recorded. I'd advise you to choose your words carefully. You think you still have money, still such a dreamer. I clapped my hands. Lin Chung took several steps back, his face a mask of shock and disbelief. What did you say? He had become much sharper, but it was too little, too late. Miss Yang strode into the room, a mere child. Trying to take the Yang family from me. I could skin you alive and drink your blood. She walked up to him and slapped him across the face, again and again. He was completely stunned, clutching his heavily swollen cheek. He asked in disbelief, what's wrong with you? We've seen through your scheme. I tossed the documents in front of him. Although Lin Chung was a fool, he possessed a certain cunning, low-cunning cleverness, as the saying goes. A wily hare has 3 burrows. He had long prepared an escape route abroad, ready to abscond with the money, leave the mess for the Yang family, and thus evade justice. Rushing to arrest him would only tip him off. It's better to use the theft as bait to lure him out, leaving him no chance to escape. Seeing the game was up, Lin Chung slumped to his knees on the floor. You set me up. Well played. If you knew it would come to this, you shouldn't have started it in the first place, I said, looking down at him. He let out a maniacal laugh, sprang to his feet, and pulled out a small knife, lunging at me. If I'm going down, you're coming with me. A police officer, quick as a flash, kicked him and sent him flying. His knife flew from his hand, grazing my cheek. It didn't hurt, but a bead of blood welled up and trickled down to my neck. This was barely a scratch on me, but for him, it was just another crime added to the list. Through the maneuvering of my parents and the Yang family, he was ultimately sentenced to life in prison, condemned to grow old and die behind bars. It's better to be as mild as a chrysanthemum and speak against one's heart than to be malicious at heart. He never expected that his own cleverness would be his undoing, leaving him worse off than in his previous life. Miss Yang suffered a major setback in love and said she fears she may never have the courage to marry again. She loves children and can't bear to part with this one, no matter who the father is. This child is still yours. That's something no one can change. If you want to keep it, then keep it. Later, she took my advice and had the baby. The child grew up healthy and strong. After my advisor's repeated persuasion, I decided to pursue a Ph.D. During my studies, I started a business, drawing on my past life experience and the solid knowledge I had accumulated. The company was already on a solid track by the time I graduated. It suddenly dawned on me that I could have had it all along. On my way home from work that day, I came across a shabbily dressed old Taoist priest on the street. I popped into a convenience store and bought him some food. He took it and began devouring it ravenously. He suddenly looked up at me, his dim old eyes flashing with a sharp light. You are one who has returned from the underworld, unwilling to accept your fate. I neither confirmed nor denied it. He smacked his lips and continued, and you brought someone back with you. Ha ha ha, how fascinating. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, settle all grudges, repay all debts. No one can escape, even in death. You can be dragged back to suffer. Such is the cycle of the world. The words had barely left his lips before he vanished. I wasn't afraid, just filled with a sense of wonder. Since then, I've always tried to do good. It's the only way to make the second chance worthwhile, to leave something meaningful behind. I believe in settling scores, but there are things in life far more important than vengeance. Story 2. On the day of registration at Jing University, Zhao Liang dragged me along to the campus, pulled out his admission letter, and handed it to me. You've been ignoring me all summer. I'm giving you a way out this time. Help your big brother get through the enrollment procedures. I couldn't help but laugh. Zhao Liang, what kind of pipe dream are you having? Jingzhou Vocational College, and you have the nerve to compare it to Jing University. Hearing this, Zhao Liang froze. Under a barrage of mocking stares, he tore open the dust-covered admission letter and completely broke down on the spot. Why didn't you change it back for me? I scoffed. Didn't you tell me to mind my own business? When I discovered Zhao Liang's college preference had been changed to a vocational college, my heart skipped a beat. I touched my legs, then my head. Everything was intact. I almost burst into tears. I was reborn, returning to the day Zhao Liang was to change his college application. In my past life, the class beauty, Su Shanshan, had carelessly filled out a remote vocational college application for him when I found out. I tried my hardest to stop her and scolded her for her irresponsible actions. Humiliated, Su Shanshan tearfully apologized and then ran out. Unexpectedly, she missed a step, fell down the stairs, and was left paralyzed from the neck down. Unable to bear it, she took her own life. Zhao Liang blamed the entire tragedy on me, saying I had meddled in things that weren't my business. 1. The day before I was supposed to report to school, he lured me to the rooftop and pushed me off. For now, I'm pretending to know nothing. Seeing me approach, Su Shanshan panicked, quickly shut down her computer, and looked at me with a guilty conscience. Chen Shuhan, what did you just see? I saw you changed your application. Hearing this, she let out a cold laugh. Well, don't even think about telling on me. I'm going to the same university as him. Whatever, none of my business. Just as the words were spoken, Zhao Liang walked in, seeing me and Su Shanshan alone in the classroom. His face filled with wariness. Chen Shuhan, will you quit it? You're like a shadow I can't shake. I bent down and pulled all my study materials out of the drawer before finally speaking up. Do you own this school? If you can be here, why can't I? He was stunned, completely taken aback by my attitude. In the past, I'd always been soft-spoken and gentle with him, or else trailing behind him with apologies. I used to see him hanging out with Su Shanshan and desperately try to persuade him to focus on his studies, but now, what does any of that have to do with me? I had just packed my things and was about to leave with my backpack when Su Shanshan hurriedly called out, wait, I just made a quick change to Zhao Liang's application preferences. Could you give me your thoughts on it? She confidently held up her screen. Zhao Liang glanced at it, then turned to me and said, well, let's hear it. You were full of opinions before, weren't you? I shrugged. I'm not really interested in this stuff. He grabbed me by the arm. What's that supposed to mean? You said you were going to apply to Peking University with me. Don't you have anything to say for yourself? Respect people's choices. Suit yourself. I shook him off and walked away without a backward glance. Zhao Liang was fuming behind me. I heard him kick the table hard, but I just ignored him. We hadn't gone far when our little group chat blew up. Zhao Liang, Su Shanshan signed you up for a vocational college. Are you just going to let her mess things up like that? Your scores are good enough for Peking University. Zhao Liang, relax. Chen Shuhan will fix it for me later anyway. I heard you two arguing just now. Aren't you worried she'll just walk away and leave you to it? You should really take more responsibility for your own affairs. Zhao Liang, she's like a mother hen. There's no way she'd ever actually abandon me. Zhao Liang, we might fight, but I'll just sweet-talk her and she'll come back. I scoffed. Handle your own business. I'm not your mother. Zhao Liang was furious, and the next second, I was removed from the group chat. This was his usual tactic. Whenever we argued, he would kick me out of the group. I'd always have to swallow my pride and apologize before he'd add me back. This time, I wasn't having any of it. I blocked him outright. Left all the group chats, and only kept WeChat for a few close friends. Now that I've graduated, it's time to cut some ties clean. From now on, I'm done meddling in other people's drama. I'm just going to focus on myself. Zhao Liang, I can't wait to see the look on your face when you get that letter. When I got home, I packed up every single gift Zhao Liang had ever given me and threw it all in the trash, even with over a decade of friendship, after he pushed me off that building in my past life. I could never forgive him, no matter how much it hurts to let go. On my way downstairs to take out the trash, I ran into Zhao Liang's mom. She spotted me from a distance and called out, Shu Han, have you seen Zhao Liang? That boy won't answer my calls or texts. I don't know. Auntie, could you make a call and ask for me? Auntie, I shrugged. Auntie, I didn't bring my phone down with me. Maybe you could call his friend instead. Goodbye, Auntie Huang. Before she could say a word, I made an excuse about having something to do and left. In my past life, after I died, my parents were utterly devastated. They discovered that Zhao Liang had gone up to the rooftop with me. Yet, Aunt Huang, fully aware that Zhao Liang was involved in my death, destroyed the surveillance footage and even went so far as to fraudulently obtain a psychiatric diagnosis for him. She had been genuinely good to me before, but when it comes to her own biological son, everyone else gets pushed aside. Even if it meant committing perjury, I no longer wanted to have much to do with her. As soon as I got home, I got a WeChat from my friend, Shuhan. Let's go eat. A new barbecue place just opened downtown. You can feast for just a few dozen bucks. I agreed right away. Sure thing, let's get Zhang Mo and I'll go together. When we got there, Zhang Mo nudged me and said, isn't that Zhao Liang and his crew? I heard he scored over 600 on the Gaokao and has been telling everyone he's going to Peking University. Oh, That's hilarious. Su Shanshan said she wanted to go with him. She only scored a little over 200. I could step on the answer sheet and get a higher score than that. Go with him, yeah, right. Fang Qing made a sarcastic comment while pulling a face, which had us all in stitches. Just then, Zhao Liang came over. When he saw me, he sneered, Chen Shihan, you're like a bad penny, always turning up. Didn't you say you were done with this? So why are you tagging along again? Zhang Mo and the others looked a bit worried. I said coolly, do you own this place? The owner opened for business. Are you saying we're not allowed to eat here? Move, even a good dog knows not to block the path. I shoved him aside and walked to the front desk to validate the voucher, his face turning ashen. Zhang Mo gave a thumbs up. Way to go, Shihan, you're on the rise. Yeah, I'm done with him. Zhao Liang, following close behind, ground his teeth and said, fine, Chen Shihan, you'd better stay out of this. I ignored him and went to eat with a friend. Sitting directly across from us was Zhao Liang. As if on purpose, he and Su Shanshan were feeding each other, which made me sick to my stomach. I turned a blind eye and focused on grilling the meat. I was halfway through my meal when I went to the restroom. Just then, a strong hand yanked me aside. It was Zhao Liang. I frowned, but he shoved his phone in front of my face. Why did you block me? I blocked you because I wanted to. Zhao Liang, we're done. You think I'm nosy, and I'm tired of chasing after you. Besides, didn't you say you have a girlfriend now? In that case, it's better we keep our distance. Add me back, or it'll be such a hassle to get in touch. We can go to Jing University together. He tried to snatch my phone right after saying that, but I yanked it back. Zhao Liang, get this straight. We're done after graduation. Who I'm friends with is my own business. Zhao Liang's jaw dropped. Just as he was about to speak, I cut him off. And another thing, show some respect when we see each other. I'm nothing to you, so at least have some basic manners. I shot him a glare and walked straight past. Zhao Liang was furious and was just about to call me back when Su Shanshan showed up. As if to provoke me on purpose, he suddenly cupped Su Shanshan's head and kissed her. A sharp pang shot through my heart, but I immediately forced a smile and walked past him with an air of indifference. Let people live their own lives. It's not like I have no self-respect. After that, Zhao Liang never contacted me again, and I didn't reach out to him either. My mom seemed a bit surprised. Shuhan, hasn't Zhao Liang been around for a few days? Mom, I've already graduated. Besides, he has a girlfriend now. Of course he's going to spend time with her. Hearing this, my mom was instantly taken aback. A girlfriend? Then what about you? He and I are just neighbors. That's all. My mom was stunned by my explanation, while my dad chuckled beside her and said, you're right, they're just neighbors. Whether they come or not has nothing to do with us. Now that our daughter's college entrance exams are over, let's go on a trip. Hearing this, I was instantly thrilled, too. Dad, I want to go to Disneyland. No problem, I'll take some annual leave, and we can go on a little trip together. It'll be a nice break. My mom happily agreed, and the whole family got swept up in the excitement of planning the trip, completely missing the vibration of a WeChat notification. It wasn't until after I'd finalized the itinerary that I saw the screenshot Zhang Mo sent me. Is Zhao Liang out of his mind? She wrote. He sent this on purpose, just so I'd show you. I took a look. It was a screenshot of his college application form, clearly showing Jianzhou Vocational College. I had to laugh at that. He's obviously trying to send me a message, but it's a shame for him I've already blocked him. Shihan, what's going on? I thought he was applying to Peking University. Su Shanshan signed him up for it. Is he out of his mind? Zhang Mo was utterly shocked. He's gambling with his own future. Fine, let them face their own fate. Zhang Mo thought he was out of his mind and promptly blocked him too. I just laughed it off. The next day, my whole family packed up and went on a trip. I posted a bunch of photos on my social media feed. We went to Disney and even had a buffet, just as I thought. This magical city has its own currency. The food cost me an arm and a leg, but I had a great time. That night, while staying at the hotel, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Zhao Liang's voice. I heard you're traveling. What's your next stop? I'm going to check out Jing University. I want to get familiar with the environment ahead of time. Hearing this, he couldn't help but laugh. Chen Shihan, add me back. When you return, I have a gift for you. A promise is a promise. I never go back on my word. Zhao Liang. People must take responsibility for their own choices. He was about to speak when Su Shanshan's voice came through the phone. Eliang, could you grab a towel for me? He hurriedly hung up the phone. I saw the friend request on my phone and decisively rejected it. The time is now 11:50. Zhao Liang, you have only 10 minutes left to change the course of your life. I hope you can take responsibility for yourself. I've said all I need to say. I owe you nothing. At that moment, Su Shanshan's friend request popped up. Qin Shihan, accept my friend request. I ignored her, but she was relentless. Zhao Liang and I slept together. Whatever you had with him before, he's mine now. He's not going to Peking University with you. He's mine for life. I scoffed, blocked her, and thought, you two deserve each other. I've got my own path to walk. As the seconds ticked by, I finalized my decision, took a deep breath. When the clock struck midnight and the final second passed, I let out a long sigh of relief. Zhao Liang, our lives go their separate ways from here. After our trip, we didn't head back until a week later. I went straight to my grandparents' place and ended up staying for over a month. By the time I returned, school was about to start. I had already received my college acceptance letter. On the very day I got home, Zhao Liang cornered me. Didn't I tell you to add me back? You were gone for over a month. Do you have any idea how worried I was? Alright, I won't yell at you anymore. Now hurry up and add me back. The moment we met, he stopped me directly with an unignorable tone and thrust his phone in front of my face. I stayed silent, and he stubbornly stood there, refusing to move. Seeing him like that, I sighed and finally added him back. Only then was Zhao Liang satisfied. Qin Shihan, don't be so petulant with me anymore. From now on, I won't talk to any other girls except you. Are you happy now? Hearing him say that, I couldn't help but be taken aback. What, did Su Shanshan dump you? His face immediately darkened. Dumped? Don't put it so harshly. There was never anything between us to begin with. I just wanted to make you jealous on purpose. Shihan, we promised each other we'd go to Jing University together. She's just going to some community college with a score over 200. Why on earth would I be with her? Hearing that, I laughed. Zhao Liang, what exactly is our relationship? We're just neighbors. Don't talk about jealousy. It's misleading. You'll ruin my chances of finding a boyfriend. Zhao Liang's face darkened. Qin Shihan, what nonsense are you spouting? We grew up together, childhood sweethearts, and you're talking about finding a boyfriend. I shrugged and took a step back. We're just neighbors. No, we're not even that. Childhood sweethearts. Don't be ridiculous. We've just been classmates for over a decade. That's all. Zhao Liang, we're adults now. We have to take responsibility for our actions. Don't you think? My words made Zhao Liang frown slightly. Qin Shihan, what on earth are you talking about? That makes no sense. Then he shoved a box into my hands. Here, a gift for you. I opened it and took a look. It was a necklace. But the pendant was odd, a pearl, and it looked strangely familiar. This is your birthday present. Took me a month and a half to finally give it to you. So, what do you think? Pretty loyal of me, right? Have dinner with me tonight. No, I've got guests over at my place. Sorry. And thanks for the gift. Goodbye. I turned and headed upstairs. Zhao Liang's place was 3 floors below mine. He lived on the 3rd floor. I was on the 6th. And sure enough, there were quite a few people at my house. When my family found out I got into Peking University, all my relatives were clamoring for me to set off firecrackers to celebrate. I stopped them. No need to make such a big show of it. It'll just make people resentful. Besides, the guy downstairs might not have done well on his exams. If he sees this, he'll have something to say about it. My dad nodded in agreement. That kid doesn't have his head on straight. We'll treat you all to a meal in a couple of days when we're about to leave. After we got back, I told my dad about Zhao Liang. When he found out that with a score over 600, Zhao had applied to a vocational college, my dad sighed with pity and said straight out that the guy was thinking with his heart, not his head. They even said I should keep my distance from someone like him, who's not all there. I agree, in a past life, because he was close to Su Shanshan, and she hung out with people from outside school. I warned him about it, but he got upset. Qin Shihan, how can you judge people by their appearance? Her friendship with those troublemakers is completely innocent. They're just friends. You shouldn't judge who someone is friends with by how they look. No job is inherently superior or inferior. Even though he's a bit of a troublemaker, he's actually a very loyal guy. Later, when he stayed out all night partying with Su Shanshan, I was the one who tracked him down and dragged him back, forcing him to study with me. I even threatened him, saying if he pulled that again, I'd tell the teachers to make him board at school, or even inform Auntie Huang. That finally made him back down, but deep down, he still resented me for it. I couldn't understand why. Out of our over a decade-long friendship, I was just trying to pull him back from the brink. He's convinced I'm out to get him, and even wants to get back at me. Now that I've decided to respect his choice and stopped making so many demands, he's the one who's come chasing after me. I don't know how far things went between him and Su Shanshan in our past life, but he must have been completely fixated on her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone so far as to have me killed for her sake. This time, I'm stepping aside to let them grow closer. I suppose he won't hold it against me now. 3. Since he gets to be at the same school as his beloved Shanshan, I won't be the one to stand in the way of young love. School was starting in just a few days. So my family invited relatives and friends over for a meal. When Auntie Huang saw us coming out, she asked what we were up to. My dad mentioned it offhandedly, and she immediately frowned. Our Zhao Liang's acceptance letter should have arrived by now. In theory, I don't know what's up with that kid. He's being all secretive about it and won't let me see. I still don't even know what a Jing University acceptance letter looks like. Shahan, show me yours. I smiled and opened the acceptance letter to show her. Aunt Huang gently stroked the letter, her eyes full of tenderness. That rascal, she said. He insisted he got into the same school as you and wouldn't show it to anyone until registration day. I have no idea what he's up to, playing all mysterious. I just smiled without saying a word. Aunt Huang probably still didn't know. He hadn't actually gotten into Jing University at all, but into a vocational college. She's going to have a fit when she finds out. As we walked, Aunt Huang muttered to herself, you know, the cover of that acceptance letter looked different to me. We didn't say anything more. The three of us, my family, just exchanged a look and walked away. After the farewell dinner, it was time to report to campus. My dad bought me a plane ticket, so I arrived early. On the way, I got a WeChat from Zhao Liang. Qin Shahan, why did you leave without me? Still giving me the cold shoulder, huh? Didn't I already tell you? You're so petty. I even gave you a gift, and you couldn't even treat me to a meal. Just wait until I get to Jingda University, you'll see how I deal with you. Reading his message, I couldn't help but laugh. He really thinks I'm hung up on him. I was wondering why the birthday gift he gave me looked so familiar. He probably bought the chain. But the pearl on the pendant is unmistakably the same decoration from Aunt Huang's dress. He didn't even bother pretending anymore. Just threw together whatever he had and gave it to me. The original necklace pendant was a piece of jade, which I saw in Su Shanshan's short video. I didn't accept her WeChat friend request, but Su Shanshan has her own account where she posts short videos documenting her everyday with Zhao Liang. On the very day I received my birthday gift, I saw that Su Shanshan had posted a new video. She was wearing a necklace around her neck. The chain itself was an ordinary silver one, but the pendant was exceptionally dazzling. It was clearly a teardrop-shaped pendant carved from high-quality jade. Her caption read, "Whatever I want, he can get it for me. As for you, you're only fit to use the trash I've discarded." I shook my head. Before I left, I asked my dad to return that box to Zhao Liang. I doubt he's received it yet. Zhao Liang kept bombarding me with messages, and I was completely fed up. I just told him, I'm flying there. Zhao Liang replied almost instantly, go scope things out first. When I get there, you're buying me dinner. How can he act so entitled? Does he not realize he's not even a student at Jing University? I didn't reply to him. After arriving at Jing University, I sent a message to my parents to let them know I was safe. I've always been pretty independent, and I'd already gotten a feel for the university during the preterm program, so I didn't have them see me off. By the time Zhao Liang showed up, it was already the third day. Qin Shahan, where have you run off to? I'm at the student registration desk. Get over here now. He was rushing me to come over. As it happened, I had just signed up for a club, so I turned right around and headed for the registration office. A scornful laugh escaped me the moment I saw Zhao Liang. Spotting me from a distance, he immediately started waving and then tossed his admission letter and ID card over to me. Hurry up and help me check in. Who told you to come early by yourself? I've been looking all over for you, and don't forget, you're buying me lunch after this. I watched a mocking smirk spread across his face. I tore open the admission letter, took one look, and slapped it right back into his hand. Trying to pull a fast one at Peking University, Jingzhou Vocational College. How do you have the nerve to show up here for registration? Zhao Liang's usual smirk froze on his face. What are you talking about? He snapped. Even so, he glanced down. The moment he saw the words on the admission letter, his hands began to tremble. I tilted my head, watching him. Zhao Liang, didn't you know which school you applied to yourself? He suddenly looked up at me, his face full of shock, his voice trembling. Qin Shahan, this is not funny at all. Who's joking with you? Hurry up and report to the college. If you delay, you'll miss the start of classes. Staring at me in utter disbelief, a sudden realization dawned on him. He grabbed my wrist fiercely. Why didn't you help me change my application? Why? His voice rose, his eyes bloodshot, and he gripped my hand so hard it hurt. I shoved him away sharply. Are you insane? You filled out your own application. Why on earth should I change it for you? Zhao Liang, I told you, people have to take responsibility for their own choices. Your college application is a huge deal. I warned you, but you wouldn't listen. But you know perfectly well I only did it to make you jealous. Enough, I've said it before, We're just neighbors in the same building, classmates for over a decade. I'm nothing to you. You're responsible for your own future, risking it all just to make me jealous. How childish can you be?" Zhao Liang's hands began to tremble violently. Clutching his head, he let out a heart-wrenching scream, then dropped to his knees and started pounding the ground. Seeing him in this state, I immediately called Aunt Huang. I was genuinely afraid something terrible might happen to him. It would be a disaster if he died right here at school. This was supposed to be a joyous day. New students were arriving, full of hope and excitement for the future. We couldn't let Zhao Liang ruin it for everyone. A crowd had gathered around us. When they heard what I said, everyone was stunned. My God, is this guy out of his mind? He's gambling with his own future. Who lets someone else fill out their college applications and then expects them to fix it? What a man-child. It's too late for regrets now. Man, what score even got you into Jingzhou Vocational College? Zhao Liang immediately slumped to the floor, speechless. He stared at me for a long moment. Qin Shihan, are you getting back at me? I spread my hands. I've already informed Aunt Huang and asked them to come over. How to handle this is up to you. You can explain it to them yourself. With that, I turned to leave. Zhao Liang suddenly stepped forward and grabbed my hand. You did this on purpose, didn't you? Qin Shihan, you saw me with Su Shanshan, got jealous, and that's why you deliberately didn't help me change my application, right? Do you have any idea? You've ruined my life. He raised his voice, shouting at me. The classmates around us couldn't stand it anymore, and an upperclassman stepped in to push him aside. What's wrong with you? The college application account and password are yours. What were you expecting her to change for you? Jingzhou Vocational College. Didn't you apply for it yourself? Wasn't confirming your college application your own responsibility? The acceptance letter arrived, and you didn't even open it. You wait until registration day to find out you're not a student at Jing University. Did you take any responsibility for yourself? How can you possibly shift the blame onto someone else? The three rapid-fire questions left him speechless. I turned my gaze to Zhao Liang. Su Shanshan submitted and modified your application for you, but she only got your account and password because you agreed to it. She was your girlfriend at the time. Shouldn't you be taking this up with her? What's the point of coming to me, Zhao Liang? That's not how you stage a scam. If you keep this up, I'm calling the police. Zhao Liang stared at me with bloodshot eyes, then burst into loud, wailing sobs. I had no choice but to call the police. When the officers arrived and learned about this ridiculous farce, they were utterly stunned. Never having imagined such a person existed, they couldn't really say much, though, and just hauled Zhao Liang away, watching him leave. I thanked the senior who had helped me and headed back to my dorm. News of Zhao Liang's situation spread like wildfire through his school and the surrounding university district. You won't believe this, folks, a soon-to-be college student's massive mix-up. Jingzhou Vocational College tries to pass itself off as the prestigious Jing University, getting into a vocational college with a score over 600. That's absolutely mind-boggling. Aunt Huang and the others rushed over the very next day. The moment they laid eyes on Zhao Liang, they were absolutely furious, especially since Su Shanshan was also enrolled at that same school. Aunt Huang and the others chased after Zhao Liang, trying to beat him. Su Shanshan actually had the nerve to rush out and shield Zhao Liang, defiantly declaring they were true love and she was going to be with him. In a fit of rage, Zhao Liang pinned Su Shanshan to the ground and started hitting her. When Aunt Huang found out Su Shanshan was the mastermind behind it all, she snapped too. The mother and son proceeded to beat the young woman black and blue. Su Shanshan screamed, calling the police and taking photos of her injuries for evidence. For the past 2 days, the whole Jingzhou College has been buzzing with tales of Zhao Liang's heroic deeds. Sitting in my dorm room munching on snacks and watching the drama unfold, I couldn't help but find the whole thing rather ridiculous. The whole mess dragged on for a week. Zhao Liang absolutely refused to stay and study here, so in the end, he had no choice but to go back and repeat his final year of high school. By the time the news reached me, I was already in the middle of military training. After the day's drills were over, my dad called me about it. He mentioned that Auntie Huang was blaming us for not giving them a heads up. My dad said over the phone, I knew they were unreasonable. Good thing you saved those chat logs. I shut the evidence right in her face and even got the neighbors to back me up. Everyone gave her such an earful she couldn't even look up. What kind of person is that? They don't even care about their own future, and they have the nerve to blame others. My dad was absolutely furious. I just smiled and said, don't waste your energy on them. They're nothing but a bunch of clowns. Your daughter has already started her studies at Peking University. In 4 years, I'll be taking the postgraduate entrance exams, and I promise I won't let you down. My dad's joy was written all over his face. Of course, my daughter is so outstanding. Not like her son, who's completely led by his hormones. I heard the girl is pregnant. She even went to his house looking for him, demanding compensation. The girl's parents had been making a huge scene at their place, throwing a fit. For the past couple of days, they'd been blocking the stairwell entrance we all use. It's so inconvenient. What a nightmare. To have neighbors like this. I was utterly shocked to hear that. I never imagined they'd go that far. I only knew they'd gotten a room together. What I didn't know was that they didn't even use protection. Su Shanshan got pregnant in her freshman year, and even after getting beaten up, the baby held on. That kid's a fighter. I couldn't help but feel a grudging respect. But none of this had anything to do with me anymore. How their family handled it was their business. After military training ended, I went home for the National Day holiday. That's when I noticed a big red double happiness character pasted on the door of the third-floor apartment. My mom told me Zhao Liang had been forced to marry Su Shanshan. Su Shanshan altered his college application choices, and the Zhao family demanded compensation. However, Su Shanshan was also pregnant, so the Su family demanded compensation from them as well, threatening to press rape charges otherwise. The feud between the two families ended in a mutually destructive stalemate. The only solution was for them to get married legally. Though they skipped the wedding banquet, their child still needed to go to school. Su Shanshan got pregnant and had a baby right after starting university, which was an absolutely shocking turn of events. Zhao Liang went to a cram school to retake his exams. When he returned for the National Day holiday, he had visibly lost weight, with sunken eyes and a gaunt face. When he saw me, his lips parted as he leaned in, but before he could speak, tears began to fall. Chen Shihan, was I completely out of line? I gambled with my own future on a whim, hoping you'd come back. I was wrong. I was so wrong. I took a step back to put some distance between us. Zhao Liang, recognizing your mistake is the first step to fixing it. I believe you can do it, but at the same time, I knew that repeating a year of school wasn't a guaranteed success for everyone. Take Zhao Liang, for instance. He might have managed on his own, but now there was also Su Shanshan to consider. One is back in our hometown, the other is far away in another city, and on top of that, Su Shanshan is pregnant and needs constant care. Zhao Liang looked at me, his eyes filled with remorse. Chen Shihan, I regret it. I'm sorry. It must have hurt you so much back then. Hearing that, my whole body shuddered instantly. Zhao Liang, there's no such thing as a pill for regret in this world. I've told you before, everyone must face the consequences of their own actions. Guilt was written all over his face. I knew you were still angry, that you never forgave me. Ever since I got together with Su Shanshan, you haven't said a single word to me. You warned me countless times, and I was too arrogant to listen. But Shuhan, how could you be so heartless? After over a decade of friendship, you just cast me aside without a second thought. Zhao Liang grew agitated, while I remained utterly calm. And what about you? Did you think of our friendship when you killed me? I took a step closer to him. When you pushed me down the stairs and forged the medical records, did you spare a single thought for my family? Zhao Liang, you have to pay for your mistakes. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You got Su Shanshan. Does it even matter whether you get into Jing University or not? Shock was written all over Zhao Liang's face. So you knew all along. You came back too, and you deliberately didn't warn me. Chen Shihan, you're so cruel. Do you think you're more ruthless than me? Do you have any idea what it feels like to fall from the 13th floor? Every bone in my body shattered. Everything went red. The pain was excruciating. My soul lingered, watching over my parents as their hair turned white with grief, watching them waste away until their dying day. I wanted you dead. I'm not going to remind you. You're the one who told me to mind my own business. Zhao Liang staggered back 2 steps, then suddenly burst into wild laughter. I was wrong. I was wrong. You can hit me, curse me, do whatever you want. Please. I'm begging you. Can we just try one more time? Go back to the day we submitted our college applications. Can you help me change it back? Please, can you? He grabbed my hand. That's when I noticed the bulge in his pants pocket. It looked like the shape of a dagger. Terrified, I shoved him away with all my strength and took off running. Zhao Liang was right behind me, shouting, Chen Shihan, if you just die one more time, we can go back to the past. If we go back, I can get into Peking University. I was running and screaming for help when I happened to run into a patrol officer. Officer, help, he's trying to kill me. Without a word, the officer pinned Zhao Liang to the ground and found a dagger in his pocket. Zhao Liang's face instantly flushed red with rage again. He attempted murder right on the street, leaving the neighbors shaking their heads in dismay. They all said he must have lost his mind, probably because he couldn't get into Peking University. Aunt Huang and the others rushed to the police station in a panic. As soon as she saw I had finished giving my statement, Aunt Huang dropped to her knees before me with a thud. "Shuhan, please forgive him, he didn't mean to do it." I was just looking at Aunt Huang, not having said a word yet. When my dad arrived and immediately started yelling at her, "It wasn't an accident, he planned this all along. Thank God for the patrol officers today, or your son would have killed my daughter. If there's something wrong with your family, get help, stop hurting people. Our daughter just started her freshman year of college. Are you trying to ruin her life?" My father, my mother, and the grandparents who had rushed over, all 6 of them, shouted at them in unison. Aunt Huang was utterly torn to shreds by their verbal assault. It suddenly hit me how wonderful it feels to be protected by family. Last time, Aunt Huang helped Zhao Liang fake a mental illness to escape justice. This time, I'm demanding a full psychiatric evaluation for Zhao Liang. If he's genuinely mentally ill, then he can spend the rest of his life in a psychiatric hospital. If he's not, then he must face the consequences and serve his time in prison. Aunt Huang never expected me to be this ruthless. "Shuhan, you two were childhood sweethearts." I cut her off. "Aunt Huang, that's not the right way to use childhood sweethearts. We were just classmates growing up, and neighbors, that's all. I can't control what he does, but don't forget, Zhao Liang has a wife. Is it fair to Su Shanshan for you to say this to me? Is it fair to the Su family? Is it fair to the child she's carrying?" My barrage of questions left her speechless. Meanwhile, the police quickly confirmed that Zhao Liang had undergone a psychiatric evaluation. Sure enough, he was declared insane. He kept ranting about being reborn, claiming that killing me would let him start over. In the end, it was confirmed he had a mental illness. While this spared him from prison, I strongly insisted he be sent to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. Aunt Huang and the others had no choice but to comply. The news of Zhao Liang being admitted to the psychiatric hospital reached Su Shanshan directly. She suffered a miscarriage and returned to file for divorce. Su Shanshan said, "I was prepared to stand by him through thick and thin, but who knew he was so psychologically fragile? Since that's the case, I can't let him hold me back any longer." She went ahead with the divorce and left without looking back. I have to admit, I sometimes really admire Su Shanshan's impulsiveness. She's the type to just pick up and leave without a second thought. But she certainly didn't let Zhao Liang off the hook. After all, the whole saga of their quick marriage, divorce, making her a divorcee, and her abortion became the talk of the town in our small city. On top of that, everyone around here knows about Zhao Liang's mental breakdown after failing to get into Beijing University, with her reputation in tatters. Su Shanshan couldn't stay here anymore and had no choice but to leave town, yet, she blames the entire mess on Zhao Liang. Her gang of troublemaker friends regularly harass Auntie Huang and her family, either demanding money or sabotaging their jobs. 10. Aunt Huang and the others were utterly fed up. In the end, they sold their house and compensated Su Shanshan with a sum of money, which finally settled the matter. But Zhao Liang's life was pretty much ruined. For years later, I got into graduate school on recommendation, and Zhao Liang was released. I saw him near Jingda University. My dad had said he'd gone missing right after getting out, but I hadn't paid it much mind. Still, seeing his figure, I felt a twinge of wariness. But Zhao Liang didn't come looking for me. He just wandered around the Jingda campus, had a meal, and then left. A wave of relief washed over me. 2 days later, I received a text from an unknown number. "I'm sorry, I knew it was Zhao Liang." But I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked the number. A few more days passed, and I saw a news report. An out-of-town mentally ill man stabbed 2 hostesses, leaving 1 dead and 1 injured. The victim was Su Shanshan. She was stabbed over a dozen times by Zhao Liang and died on the spot. After killing her, Zhao Liang tried to flee. Bouncers from the bar chased him, and in his panic, he scrambled up to the 4th floor, fell, and was left paralyzed from the neck down. Good, he's still alive. Aunt Huang and the others took Zhao Liang back home. He wept bitterly, but his personality had completely changed, and he would lash out at people over the slightest thing. The neighbors couldn't stand the noise he made and filed a joint complaint. On top of that, their current apartment was too small, and with Zhao Liang living, eating, and relieving himself entirely at home, the smell became unbearable. Aunt Huang and her family had no choice but to move again. The couple lived with Zhao Liang in an old house in the suburbs. It's said that Zhao Liang would scream and shout inside the house every single day, aging the elderly couple by what seemed like a decade. In the end, they couldn't take it anymore and ran away. By the time Zhao Liang was found, his corpse had already begun to decompose. 5. Around that time, I had just finished my postgraduate studies, signed a job offer, and took my parents on a spontaneous trip. The road ahead is clear and bright. And I will cherish each and every day. The end. That's all for the first story. Don't go away. The next one is even more exciting. Sign it, or I'll make sure you die in this hospital. On his deathbed from late-stage liver cancer, my husband threw the divorce papers in my face, with his dazzling white moonlight standing right beside him. 25 years of marriage, and all I got was his remark. If I'd known a country girl like you would only hold me back, I'd never have given up the city. Childhood sweetheart, my stepdaughter, whom I raised with my own hands, sneered coldly. Stop pretending, you wicked stepmother. In my moment of utter despair, I grabbed a scalpel, ready to end us both. When I opened my eyes again, my reborn husband shoved my hand away. We're done. A key technician like me is out of your league. I wasn't angry, just let out a scornful laugh. Without my father's factory, how could a middle school graduate like you ever have become an engineer? A sharp pain in my wrist yanked me back to reality from the darkness. Li Ming wrenched his hand from my grasp with such force that I stumbled. We're done, Lin Xiaoyu. A top technician like me has no business being with a country bumpkin who's never seen the world. I lost my balance and fell to the floor. The dull ache from my knees hitting the concrete was nothing compared to the stabbing pain in my chest, without so much as a glance in my direction. Li Ming turned and strode out of the workshop, a contemptuous sneer curling his lip. Xiaoyan. His voice suddenly softened, his arms opening wide as he rushed toward the woman standing at the factory gate. That woman, who Xiaoyan, wore a triumphant smile on her flawless face as she threw herself into Li Ming's arms. Ming, I knew you wouldn't let me down. That country girl is no match for a man of your caliber. Li Ming wrapped his arm around her slender waist and, in full view of everyone, kissed her on the lips. I knelt on the ground, blood seeping through my torn pants, mixing with tears as they dripped onto the floor. My heart ached so fiercely I could barely breathe. Xiaoyu, Dad rushed out of his office, seeing the scene, his face turned ashen. Li Ming, what is the meaning of this? Li Ming snorted coldly, wrapping an arm around Hu Xiaoyan's shoulder. Manager Lin, to be perfectly honest, if I'd known your daughter was just some country girl who, he'd only hold me back, I'll never give up on my childhood sweetheart in the city. You, father was trembling with rage, his fingers shaking as he pointed at Li Ming. Don't be angry, father-in-law. Oh, I mean, former father-in-law. Li Ming grinned. Thanks to you promoting me to a key technical role, I'll be grateful to you for the rest of my life, but being your son-in-law, that's a role I'm not taking. I realized I had been reborn. I tried to push myself up from the ground, but my legs felt weak, and my whole body wouldn't stop trembling. Look at that pathetic sight of yours. Li Ming turned his head and shot me a contemptuous glance. Country folk will always be country folk, utterly clueless, no experience of the world at all. The factory workers gathered around, pointing fingers and whispering among themselves. I heard she's been seeing Li Ming for almost 2 years. Well, that's over now. Talk about overreaching, a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Well, what do you expect? She's the factory director's daughter. Do you really think Li Ming would have looked twice at her otherwise? Without Director Lin, she wouldn't even get a second glance from anyone. No one would give her the time of day. Every word felt like a knife to my heart. My face burned with shame, and I wished the ground would swallow me whole. Dad hurriedly helped me up, his arm trembling, his voice low and furious. Li Ming, I'm giving you 3 days to get your things from the dormitory, and don't bother coming back to work. Hu Xiaoyan immediately stepped forward. Director Lin, you can't do this. Brother Ming is a key technical expert here. You can't just, for a personal matter, you'd, shut up, Dad roared, you have no say in this, Li Ming, however, calmly patted Hu Xiaoyan's shoulder and reassured her, don't be afraid, Xiaoyan, he wouldn't dare fire me, at the factory. Those technical problems can't be solved without me. If he fires me, the whole place would grind to a halt, After saying that, he smugly put his arm around Hu Xiaoyan and swaggered off, leaving only my father and me standing there, surrounded by workers, who were pointing and whispering. My father helped me back to the office. I was trembling all over, not from the pain in my knee, but because the sudden rush of memories left me almost breathless. Xiaoyu, don't be scared, I'm right here. Dad handed me a glass of water, his eyes filled with worry as he looked at my pale face. The glass trembled violently in my hand, water droplets splashing onto the back of my hand, cold and piercing. 25 years of marriage flashed before my eyes like a slideshow. I had given Li Ming a child, but the baby died during a difficult birth. The hospital's fluorescent light stabbed at my eyes. The nurse took my baby away, took him away forever. In Li Ming's eyes, there was no grief, only regret and a hint of relief that I didn't understand at the time. 3 months later, he brought home an infant, claiming it was a distant relative's child who had lost both parents, and asked me to help raise it. That child was Li Yu. With tears in my eyes, I raised her through thick and thin, pouring all my maternal love into her. Day and night, I cared for Li Ming's mother, tending to all her needs, until the moment she closed her eyes. Still holding my hand and calling me a good daughter-in-law, wife, I poured every last dividend from my father's factory into Li Ming's career, funding his education and advancement, all so he could rise to prominence. 6. And he actually carried on a sordid affair with Hu Xiaoyan behind my back for over 20 years. That day, lying on my hospital bed in the late stages of liver cancer, and 4 line piercing the skin of my withered hand, Li Ming walked in with Hu Xiaoyan and Li Yu. Come on. Sign it, or I'll let you die in this hospital. He threw the divorce papers in my face, the cold paper cutting my chapped lips. Mom, no, Auntie, stop pretending, you wicked stepmother. Li Yu sneered as she pulled out my oxygen tube. I struggled to breathe, but all I could hear was Hu Xiaoyan's voice. Xiaoyu, don't blame Yaya. After all, she's my own flesh and blood, and you share no blood relation with her. In that moment, I was utterly consumed by despair. I grabbed the scalpel from the nightstand and, with all my strength, plunged it into his chest. Xiaoyu, my father's voice pulled me back from the terrible memory to reality. What's wrong with you? My tears had already soaked the front of my shirt, and my fingernails dug so deeply into my palms that they left 4 bloody crescents. Dad, I'm fine, I said, wiping away my tears and taking a deep breath. Please don't worry, I won't have anything more to do with Li Ming. Dad let out a sigh of relief. That's good, I was worried you might forgive that scoundrel. Just then, the office door swung open, and Li Ming walked in, a placating smile on his face. Father-in-law, I wasn't thinking straight. Get out, Dad roared. Li Ming, however, stepped right past my father and came up to me, his voice suddenly dripping with contempt. Lin Xiaoyu, don't think you can hide behind your dad and get away with this. You know what? I remember everything about the future. I know you'll hold me back, how many opportunities you'll cost me, so this time, I will absolutely not let a jinx like you ruin my future. I looked up, meeting his gaze. The fear in my heart had turned to icy resolve. Li Ming, from this moment on, you and I are finished. Completely. Humph. Who do you think you are, acting all high and mighty? Without me, you'd be stuck as a factory girl for the rest of your life, forever living in your father's shadow. An uneducated country girl like you, who else would even want you besides me? Li Ming, you're fired. Come to the office tomorrow to process your termination. Dad's voice was ice cold, devoid of any warmth. A flicker of panic flashed in Li Ming's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Director Lin, please don't be hasty. That newly imported machine at the factory, this machine, nobody else knows how to operate it but me. Dad waved the phone in his hand. I just called the city's technical school. A new technician will be here tomorrow to take over. There are plenty of people 10 times better than you. Don't get too full of yourself. You. Li Ming's face turned ashen, pointing at me. He roared. Lin Xiaoyu. Are you happy now? You cost me my job. 3 days later, just as I was returning from the factory canteen after lunch, I saw Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan standing at my front door. Xiaoyu, long time no see, Hu Xiaoyan said, a phony smile plastered on her face. I ignored her and walked straight towards my door, but Hu Xiaoyan grabbed my arm. Don't be so cold, we came all this way to see you, she said, her nails digging deep into my arm. Brother Ming told me everything. Oh my god. You're both reincarnated too. What are the odds? My head snapped up, unable to believe my ears. What did you say? Li Ming put his arm around Hu Xiaoyan's waist and smiled triumphantly. That's right, Xiaoyan and I both remember our past lives. We're a match made in heaven. Xiaoyu, you're so pitiful, Hu Xiaoyan said with feigned sympathy. In your past life, you slaved away taking care of Brother Ming for 25 years, yet, you never won his heart. You were nothing but a burden. You couldn't even bear a proper child. You're not even as good as the daughter I gave him. Did you know? Li Yu is actually my child. You wasted over 20 years raising an outsider. She looked at me with disdain. This time around, we've decided to stop beating around the bush. Li Ming pulled an invitation from his pocket and shoved it into my hand. It's the invitation to my wedding with Xiaoyan, next month. Which just happens to be the same day I get my promotion at the city machinery plant. What do you think? Jealous? I got into the city machinery plant on my own merit, not through my father-in-law's connections. You'll be stuck, a pathetic little nobody in your father's factory. I opened the invitation, and there it was, printed in bold, wedding invitation for Li Ming Hu Xiaoyan, along with a prominent line that read, special promotion announcement for the groom. Congratulations on his appointment as head of the technical team at the city machinery plant. In an instant, memories from my past life came flooding back. That spring, Li Ming kept hitting a wall trying to get into the city's machinery plant. It was only after I begged my father to call the plant's old director that Li Ming finally got his foot in the door. 3 months later, I talked my father into dipping into the family savings to donate an imported piece of equipment to the plant. In return, Li Ming was promoted to lead technician. Li Ming never knew any of this. He simply thought his own abilities were being recognized. What? Jealous, seeing me fall silent. Hu Xiaoyan grew even more smug. Can't be helped. Who else but me and brother Ming are a match made in heaven. You're destined to be a supporting character in this life. You're only fit to be a little factory girl at your dad's plant, or to marry some ordinary worker and live an ordinary life. Li Ming said dismissively. He sneered, we're far too good for the likes of you. Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan's wedding went ahead as planned. With a banquet of 30 tables at the city's largest hotel, I changed into a brand new red dress, applied flawless makeup, and strode into the wedding venue in my high heels. The entire room fell silent in an instant. All eyes were on me, and a wave of hushed whispers rippled through the crowd. Oh my god. Is that Lin Xiaoyu? Has she really got the nerve to show up here? Is she asking for trouble? Coming to his wedding after he dumped her? She's got no self-respect at all. I heard Li Ming is now the technical team leader at the city machinery plant. He's got a bright future ahead. Lin Xiaoyu could never measure up to him now. Lin Xiaoyu, what are you doing here? Looking for trouble? Trying to ruin my wedding? Hu Xiaoyan frowned, her voice sharp and shrill. You shameless woman. 7. I shrugged. What trouble could I possibly be looking for? Li Ming is now the technical team leader at the city's machinery plant. With a bright future ahead of him, I wouldn't dare to offend him. Hearing this, a flicker of smugness passed through Li Ming's eyes. Naturally, not to boast, but when it comes to that imported equipment in the city, aside from me, no one else knows how to operate it. I'm the absolute core of the technical team. The factory director thinks very highly of me. See. Right after my promotion, he gave me a 20,000 yuan bonus, he said, deliberately raising his voice. This wedding is being paid for with that bonus money. The people around them gasped in astonishment. 20,000 yuan was a colossal sum of money in the late 1980s. Is that so? I said with a meaningful smile. So your promotion was really due to outstanding ability. Li Ming's expression shifted, but he quickly regained his composure. Of course it's real skill. Not like some people, who can only rely on their father, no ability of their own, just hiding behind daddy like a useless waste. Just then, a commotion arose at the entrance to the venue. My father walked in, dressed in a formal suit and holding a document bag. Director Lin is here, someone whispered in surprise. Li Ming hurried forward to greet him. Director Lin, it's such an honor that you could come. Dad ignored him and walked straight over to me. Xiaoyu. I brought everything. I took the document folder and opened it in front of everyone. Inside was a stack of papers stamped with the official seal of the city machinery plant. Li Ming, congratulations, I said with a smile, but I'm a little curious. Do you really know how you got into the city machinery plant? Li Ming's smile froze on his face, his eyes darting. Of course it was because of my skills. I pulled the first document from the folder. It was unmistakably a letter of recommendation. Comrade Lin Jiqiang recommends Comrade Li Ming for a position at the city machinery plant. This is, Li Ming's voice trembled slightly, this is the recommendation letter my father wrote to the old factory director of the city machinery plant. I said softly, without this letter, you wouldn't even have gotten an interview, not even a meeting. Hu Xiaoyan cut in hastily. So what? Brother Ming was promoted to technical team leader purely on his own merits. I pulled out a second document, an appointment letter. In light of Comrade Lin Jiqiang's special contributions to our factory, he is hereby appointed, and the recommender, Comrade Li Ming, is appointed as deputy leader of the technical team. Deputy team leader. Li Ming was thunderstruck. But I'm clearly the team leader, Dad sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You can't even read the manual for that machine, and you think you can, team leader. You didn't even finish junior high. You only got into technical school because our family tutored you. What real skills do you have? That's because, Li Ming stammered, cold sweat beading on his forehead, because I had the manual translated into Chinese for you. His father cut in, otherwise you wouldn't even know how to turn it on. A stunned silence fell over the room as everyone stared in disbelief. Li Ming's colleagues exchanged uneasy glances. Someone muttered under their breath, no wonder he's always so secretive. It's all connections. No, that's not it, Li Ming protested, sweat beading on his forehead. I have real skills. Father pulled a telegram from his pocket. This just came from the city machinery plant. They're saying they're removing you from your post because you simply don't have the ability to operate that equipment. You don't have the ability to operate that equipment at all. What? Li Ming snatched the telegram. After reading it, his face turned as white as a sheet. Impossible. But you clearly what? I sneered. You're clearly just a regular worker with a junior high school education. You don't even understand the basic technical principles. You don't even know the basics, and you dare call yourself a technical backbone. Li Ming's legs gave way, and he slumped to his knees on the floor, his eyes filled with disbelief. No, that's impossible. I distinctly remember I was the head of the technical team, Father said coldly. You're just an ordinary worker I promoted. You don't even qualify as a technician. That imported equipment was meant to be my daughter's dowry. Originally for you two as a couple, but now, Dad glanced at who? Xiaoyan. It seems it was given to the wrong person. Xiaoyan's face turned deathly pale. She quickly grabbed Li Ming's hand and said, Brother Ming, don't listen to their nonsense. You're clearly very capable. I walked up to Li Ming, crouched down, and said softly, Li Ming, without my father's factory, how could a middle school graduate like you become an engineer? You think being reborn can change your fate, but you've forgotten. Without me and my father's help, you're nothing. Li Ming's gaze grew distant as he muttered to himself, impossible. I distinctly remember, I was a key technical expert, I had the skills, you remember wrong, I sneered, or rather, you only remember the parts you want to remember, in our past life, the only reason you ever became an engineer was because of my silent sacrifices behind the scenes, yet, you and Xiaoyan betrayed me for 20-5 years, in this life, without my help. You'll forever remain a common laborer, you won't even make it to technician. Li Ming was as if struck by lightning, his entire body went limp, collapsing to the ground, the light in his eyes vanishing in an instant. Xiaoyan watched the scene unfold, her face turning ashen. You lied to me, you said you were the tech team lead, that you had a bright future ahead, a brilliant career. I didn't lie, Li Ming protested weakly. I really remember it that way. Enough. Xiaoyan shrieked. I won't marry a loser who can't even hold down a job. 8. She tore the red flower from her hair and flung it in Li Ming's face. The wedding is off. I'm calling off the engagement. Li Ming looked at Xiaoyan in despair. Xiaoyan, didn't you say we were destined for each other? Destined? Xiaoyan sneered. That was when I thought you had potential. Now I see you're not even as good as a common laborer. You're worse than one. Xiaoyan, am a city girl. How could I possibly marry a hopeless country bumpkin like you? Li Ming was as if struck by lightning, his whole body went limp, collapsing to the ground, the light in his eyes vanishing in an instant. I stood up, looking down at them from my height. What a pity, I said, your so-called match made in heaven has come to such an end. Li Ming, didn't you say I was only fit to be a factory girl? I said with a smile. Well, guess what? Now, who's the one who's destined to be just an ordinary worker? Li Ming looked up, his eyes filled with despair and resentment. Lin Xiaoyu, you knew all along. Of course I knew, I said calmly. I knew that without my father's help, you'd be nothing. I know that without my sacrifice, you would have remained nothing but a factory worker with a middle school education. I know that you and Xiaoyan betrayed me for 25 years. I know that Liu is your biological daughter. I know exactly how the three of you forced me to sign the divorce papers on my deathbed, as I was dying of liver cancer. I know everything, and that's why, this time, I'm choosing to let you know what it feels like to be abandoned. Li Ming's face was as pale as a sheet, his lips trembling, unable to utter a word. Xiaoyan could no longer be bothered with any of it. She grabbed her bag and ran out, shouting, I don't know any of you. All of this is because Li Ming lied to me. The wedding venue descended into chaos, guests rose from their seats and left one after another, leaving only Li Ming kneeling on the spot, like a rag doll. Dad patted my shoulder. Xiaoyu, let's go. I nodded, turned, and walked away without giving Li Ming another glance. Stepping out of the wedding venue, the sun was bright and a gentle breeze brushed my face. I took a deep breath and felt a weight lift from my shoulders. 3 days after the wedding scandal, Li Ming received the official dismissal notice from the city's machinery plant. Clutching the thin piece of paper, his world began to spin. I've really been fired, Li Ming muttered to himself, his eyes vacant. Meanwhile, Xiaoyan was packing her bags. Li Ming, you're a complete failure, she sneered. I'm going to find a real man with actual ability, not a fraud like you who relies on connections. Li Ming knelt on the ground, pleading. Xiaoyan, don't go. Didn't we promise to start over together? Hu Xiaoyan scoffed. Start over? With you? You think you can turn your life around? Dream on. With that, she left without a backward glance. And so, I officially took over the technical department of my father's factory. Drawing on the experience from my past life and the knowledge I'd gained over the years, I quickly demonstrated remarkable talent within the factory. Xiaoyu, you're incredible, my colleagues exclaimed in admiration. You solve these complex technical problems with such ease. I simply smiled without a word, secretly grateful in my heart for having seized this second chance at life. Meanwhile, Li Ming began searching for a job everywhere, but he kept hitting walls. I'm sorry, but we don't hire people without practical experience. Your resume looks questionable. We can't hire you. No diploma. I'm afraid that's a problem. In the end, Li Ming was reduced to working as a day laborer on a construction site, earning a pittance for his daily wage and subsisting on the worst possible food. Just then, Li Ming's mother showed up at my door and started screaming at me. Lin Xiaoyu, you vicious woman, you cost my son his job. Do you have no conscience? I looked at her coldly and said, Auntie, are you sure you want to talk to me about conscience? What do you mean? Li's mother was startled by the look in my eyes. I took a deep breath and said slowly, how did Li Ming treat you before his rebirth? Do you remember? Li's mother was stunned. What rebirth? What on earth are you talking about? You had liver cirrhosis and were bedridden, and Li Ming, he dumped you alone in a nursing home and didn't even come to see you for the new year, I said, enunciating each word clearly. In the end, you died alone, with not a single soul by your side to see you off. Mrs. Li's face turned deathly pale. No, that's impossible. Do you really think Li Ming loves you? I sneered. He can't wait for you to die so he can inherit your house. Mrs. Li trembled all over, her eyes filled with utter disbelief. Xiaoyu, how could you possibly know these things? Because in that future, it was me who took care of you all along, I said softly, right up until the moment you closed your eyes. The one holding your hand was me, not Li Ming. Mother Li's tears fell like rain in an instant, and she collapsed to the floor. My son, how could I have given birth to such an ungrateful wretch? 9. I helped Mother Li up and comforted her gently. Auntie, what's past is past. In this life, we all have a chance to start over. Mrs. Li clutched my hand tightly, her voice choked with emotion. Xiaoyu, I'm sorry, I was wrong about you. I gave a faint smile. It's all right, Auntie. Just remember, Li Ming is no good. In the future, if you ever have any trouble, don't hesitate to come to me. Watching Mrs. Li's frail figure shuffle away, a tumult of mixed feelings welled up inside me. In this new life, what has changed is far more than just my own destiny. 6 months later, our factory introduced a revolutionary new technology that nearly tripled production efficiency, instantly propelling us to the forefront of the industry. Setting a new benchmark. Director Lin, you're absolutely brilliant, exclaimed the colleagues from the RD department excitedly. This technology will keep us ahead of the competition for years to come. 5 years, I smiled and said. This is the result of everyone's hard work. However, we must still be careful to keep it confidential. After all, this technology didn't come easily. However, the ambitious Li Ming was not ready to give up. He started prying into our factory's confidential information through his old colleagues. Old Wang, I hear your factory's been doing well lately, Li Ming asked, feigning casual interest. Any new developments in technology? Old Wang gave him a wary look. Li Ming, why are you asking about that? Li Ming chuckled awkwardly. Oh, it's nothing, just curious. After all these years of friendship, surely you don't distrust me. I had a feeling Li Ming would try something like this, so I set a trap in advance. I had Old Wang deliberately leak some confidential information, which was actually carefully crafted disinformation. Sure enough, Li Ming took the bait. Under the cover of night, he infiltrated the factory to steal technical data. Just as he was smugly getting his hands on the confidential files, security guards suddenly rushed in from all directions. Li Ming, you're under arrest, the security chief barked. You're suspected of stealing trade secrets. Li Ming's face went pale, and his legs went weak. And no, that's not what happened. I was just. At that moment, Hu Xiaoyan, who had somehow gotten wind of the news, appeared at the factory gate. Ha ha ha, she shrieked with laughter. Li Ming, you're such a loser. You can't even manage to steal something without getting caught. Li Ming looked at Hu Xiaoyan in despair. Xiaoyan, how could you? Hu Xiaoyan sneered coldly. I came to see you make a fool of yourself. You think you can make a comeback? Dream on. Just as everyone thought Li Ming was about to be sent to prison, I suddenly spoke up, wait a minute, I don't intend to hold Li Ming accountable. The room erupted in an uproar. I walked up to Li Ming and looked down at him. Li Ming, I said, do you have any idea what it is you've stolen? Li Ming shook his head, utterly bewildered. I opened the folder. Inside, to everyone's shock, was nothing but scrap paper and blank sheets. So this is the confidential information you went to such lengths to steal, I sneered. I knew you'd come for it, which is why I prepared this especially for you. Li Ming broke down instantly, falling to his knees as tears streamed down his face. Lin Xiaoyu, you're too cruel. I crouched down, meeting his gaze at eye level. Li Ming, let me teach you a lesson. A person must earn their keep through real skill, relying on theft and deceit. In the end, you'll have nothing. I'm letting this slide, but I want you to remember this lesson. I stood up. Now get out of my sight. It's your turn. Li Ming stumbled away, leaving behind a stunned crowd and a furious Hu Xiaoyan. I turned to the staff and said, everyone, this incident has shown us just how crucial it is to protect our technology. From now on, we all must stay vigilant and safeguard the fruits of our labor. Seeing the look of admiration in everyone's eyes, I made a silent vow to myself, in this life, I will live a truly remarkable and extraordinary life. 3 years flew by in the blink of an eye, under my leadership. Our factory has grown to become the leading enterprise in the region. Congratulations, President Lin, on our company winning the Enterprise of the Year award once again, Vice President Zhang Ming said excitedly. I smiled and said, this is the result of the collective effort of all our staff. We must keep striving for even greater achievements. Just then, a handsome man walked in. His name was Qin Yuan, the president of a well-known investment firm. President Lin, I've long heard of your esteemed reputation, Qin Yuan said, extending his hand, his eyes shining with sincerity. I greatly admire your talent and drive. We hit it off wonderfully, and a fondness for each other gradually blossomed. Yet, fate always has a flair for the dramatic. On the other side of the city, Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan crossed paths once more. Both had fallen on hard times, and as they laid eyes on each other, a flicker of pure malice passed through their gazes. It's all Lin Xiaoyu's fault, Li Ming spat through gritted teeth. Hu Xiaoyan sneered, you're only realizing this now. Well, I have an idea. They decided to join forces against me, plotting to ruin my career and personal life through underhanded means. Pretending to repent, Hu Xiaoyan took the initiative to approach Qin Yuan. Mr. Chen, I'm an old friend of Lin Xiaoyu's, she said with feigned warmth. There are some things I'd like to discuss with you. I had a feeling they'd make a move, so I set a trap. At the company's annual gala, I made a point of announcing publicly, everyone, I'd like to give special thanks to one person, my fiancé, Qin Yuan. He has provided our company with a great deal of invaluable advice. Hearing this, Hu Xiaoyan was overjoyed and immediately rushed over to Qin Yuan's side, trying to cozy up to him. Just then, Li Ming suddenly burst out from the crowd. Lin Xiaoyu, don't get too cocky. I've already obtained your company's confidential data. I'm going to ruin you. The entire room erupted in an uproar. I let out a cold laugh. Oh really? Then by all means, show us. Li Ming opened the folder with a triumphant flourish, only to find it filled with nothing but blank sheets of paper. He was utterly dumbfounded. Everyone, I announced loudly, this is the proof that someone tried to steal our company's secrets. Li Ming, Hu Xiaoyan, do you have anything to say for yourselves? Well, what do you have to say for yourselves? Security immediately moved in and seized them both. Hu Xiaoyan shrieked in protest. It wasn't me. It was all Li Ming's doing. Li Ming roared. Hu Xiaoyan, you liar. This was your idea in the first place. Watching the two of them make complete fools of themselves, the entire room burst into laughter. At that moment, Qin Yuan suddenly dropped to one knee and produced a diamond ring. Xiaoyu, your intelligence and courage have completely won me over. Will you marry me? I looked at him in surprise. You knew about my plan all along. Qin Yuan smiled. We're on the same wavelength. How could I not see it? I understand every move you make. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, I nodded my agreement, tears in my eyes. Watching Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan being dragged away by security in such a sorry state, I finally felt a sense of relief. This time, I chose someone truly worthy of my trust. Not that Li Ming who was only ever going to betray me. Qin Yuan and I held our wedding at the city's most luxurious hotel. The venue was packed with guests, and the occasion was magnificent. Congratulations, President Lin. Wishing you and President Chen a lifetime of happiness together. The employees offered their sincere blessings. In my pristine white wedding dress, I nestled happily beside Qin Yuan, my heart brimming with sweetness. In this moment, I finally had everything I'd ever, a happiness she had never known. However, in a corner of the wedding venue, Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan were secretly watching. Look at her smug face. Li Ming said through gritted teeth, one day. I'll make sure she tastes the same bitterness. Hu Xiaoyan gave a cold laugh. Don't be impatient, the opportunity will come. A year into our marriage, my career was flourishing and my married life was blissfully happy. However, one afternoon, I suddenly received a photo. It showed Qin Yuan and his secretary, Xiao Zhang, engaged in an intimate conversation at a cafe. The image was unmistakable. My heart sank. Was history about to repeat itself? Over the next few days, I noticed Qin Yuan was indeed acting strange. He was often alone with Xiao Zhang, and there were even a few times he didn't come home until late at night. Qin Yuan, what's been going on with you lately? I asked tentatively. Qin Yuan was visibly nervous. It's nothing, just busy with work. My suspicions grew heavier by the day. Meanwhile, after learning of this, Li Ming began spreading rumors far and wide. Did you hear? Lin Xiaoyu's husband is having an affair. Serves her right. That's what she gets for how she treated me back then. Looks like her days of living the high life are over. Faced with the swirling rumors and gossip, I didn't panic. Instead, I calmly began my investigation. After some discreet observation, I discovered that Xiao Zhang was frequently meeting with a familiar figure. It was actually Hu Xiaoyan. So that's it, I realized with a start. It's a trap. I immediately went to find Qin Yuan and told him about my discovery. To my surprise, Qin Yuan wasn't shocked at all. Instead, he breathed a sigh of relief. Xiaoyu, I was just about to tell you about this. It turns out Qin Yuan had discovered a mole in the company long ago, and Xiao Zhang was the undercover agent he planted to lure out the mastermind. Their feigned closeness was all to make the real mole let their guard down. I didn't want you to worry, so I didn't tell you in advance, Qin Yuan said remorsefully. I never expected it was Hu Xiaoyan pulling the strings. Behind the scenes, I gripped Qin Yuan's hand tightly. We'll solve this problem together. We set a trap, pretending our marriage was on the rocks to lure Hu Xiaoyan and Xiao Zhang out into the open. At a company dinner, Hu Xiaoyan, as expected, couldn't resist publicly provoking me. Lin Xiaoyu, I heard your husband is having an affair. How pathetic. I lowered my head, feigning anguish, while Qin Yuan stormed off in a show of anger, just as Hu Xiaoyan was basking in her triumph. I suddenly looked up and sneered. Hu Xiaoyan, the game is over. The security guard entered with Xiao Zhang, who was holding a recording. Hu Xiaoyan, he said, the evidence of you instructing me to get close to Mr. Chen and sabotage their marriage is all right here. Hu Xiaoyan's face turned deathly pale. You betrayed me. Xiao Zhang sneered coldly. I've been Mr. Chen's man from the very beginning. You were just too stupid to see it. Qin Yuan walked over to me and grasped my hand tightly. Xiaoyu, I'm sorry for making you worry. I shook my head with a gentle smile. I believed in you. I always have. Watching Hu Xiaoyan being escorted away by security in such a disheveled state, Qin Yuan and I exchanged a knowing smile. This crisis hadn't shattered our marriage. On the contrary, it had made our bond even stronger. After Hu Xiaoyan's scheme was exposed, Li Ming didn't simply give up. By forging his resume and technical certifications, he successfully landed a position as a technical consultant for our biggest competitor, Honda Machinery. Boss Lin, we have a problem. Zhang Ming rushed into my office. Honda Machinery has poached 3 of our key clients. In the days that followed, our company was hit with one blow after another. Orders were snatched, equipment broke down, and our raw material supply was cut off. A cascade of problems followed in quick succession. This is no coincidence, Qin Yuan said with a frown. Someone is definitely pulling the strings behind the scenes. Sure enough, not long after, Li Ming appeared in a media interview, speaking as the technical consultant for Honda Machinery. We at Honda Machinery are about to launch a revolutionary new product, Li Ming said smugly, and it's sure to give a taste of defeat to certain companies that rely on their family connections to get ahead. This blatant provocation ignited a fire of anger within me, but I didn't act on impulse. Calm down, Xiaoyu, Qin Yuan reassured me. He's just trying to provoke you, to make you lose your cool. I composed myself and started digging into Li Ming's background. Soon, I uncovered a crucial lead. Li Ming didn't possess any of the technical qualifications or work experience he had claimed. It was all fabricated. That's his Achilles heel, I said to Qin Yuan, but we can't rush to expose him. We need to wait for the perfect moment. I began secretly gathering evidence. Li Ming's forged certificates, fabricated work history, plagiarized technical proposals. I documented it all. I meticulously recorded every piece of it. Meanwhile, our company quietly adjusted its strategy to counter Honda Machinery's malicious competition. Finally, the annual industry trade show arrived. As the most significant event in the sector, all key clients and media would be there, attending. On the day of the exhibition, Li Ming stood before the Honda Machinery booth. introducing their upcoming revolutionary, new product to the crowd. I developed this technology entirely on my own, Li Ming said arrogantly, and it's going to completely reshape the entire industry. At that moment, I stepped forward, holding a stack of documents. Li Ming. Are you certain this technology was developed independently by you? Li Ming's face changed. Of course. Are you questioning me? I let out a cold laugh and turned to everyone present. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to expose a fraud. I began to present the evidence one by one: Li Ming's forged academic credentials, the plagiarized technical proposal, his fabricated work history. So this is the technical consultant you at Hongda Machinery are so proud of, I said sarcastically. A fraud who can't even grasp the basic technical principles, let alone explain them clearly. Li Ming's face turned ashen as he stammered in defense. You're lying. None of this is true. I played my final card, the technical proposal signed by Li Ming himself, riddled with amateurish mistakes. Even a beginner wouldn't make these mistakes, I said coldly. Li Ming, the game is over. The clients and media present erupted in an uproar. The head of Hongda Machinery, his face ashen, immediately announced the termination of their partnership with Li Ming. Relationship. Li Ming completely broke down, falling to his knees as he wept bitterly. Lin Xiaoyu, why would you do this to me? I looked down at him with contempt. You brought this on yourself. Li Ming, you'll never learn to make an honest living. After the exhibition incident, Li Ming's nightmare was only just beginning. Hongda Machinery sued him for fraud, demanding substantial compensation. Li Ming is suspected of fraud and has been taken away by the police for investigation, the news anchor said gravely. If convicted, he could face a maximum sentence of 7 years in prison. Upon hearing the news, Hu Xiaoyan immediately cut all ties with Li Ming. She married a nouveau riche, thinking she had found a protector, only to discover that this man merely saw her as a domestic servant. Hu Xiaoyan, mop the floor properly, her husband barked, and tonight, when my friends come, you'd better serve them well. On her knees, scrubbing the floor with tears in her eyes, Hu Xiaoyan thought of her former pride and ambition and couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. This was the price she paid for choosing to betray everyone. Meanwhile, my company's reputation skyrocketed after that exhibition, with orders flooding in. 3 years later, we had become a nationally renowned machinery manufacturing enterprise and were awarded the National Prize for Progress in Science and Technology. Congratulations, Mr. Lin. At the awards ceremony, the leader warmly shook my hand and said, your company has made a significant contribution to our nation's machinery manufacturing industry, made an outstanding contribution. With a smile, I accepted the trophy, my heart swelling with pride. All of this was earned through genuine skill and unwavering perseverance. At the same time, my family with Chen Yuan is also happy and harmonious. I became pregnant and gave birth to a pair of lovely twins, and our family is filled with joy, warm and cozy. Xiaoyu, you've worked so hard, Chen Yuan said gently, holding me in his arms. Having a wife and mother like you is the greatest blessing for me and the children. Of happiness, I leaned on his shoulder, my heart full of gratitude. Thank you for always supporting me. Chen Yuan, I couldn't have made it this far without you. One day, 5 years later, I was taking a walk in the park with the children when I suddenly spotted a ragged-looking homeless man huddled in a corner. The man looked up, and to my astonishment, it was Li Ming. He recognized me too, and a complex mix of emotions flashed in his eyes: shock, shame, resentment, regret. Lin Xiaoyu, he rasped, his voice hoarse. You're doing well for yourself. I looked at him calmly. Li Ming, you're out of prison. He gave a bitter laugh. I got out 3 years ago. But no one wants to hire someone like me. Looking at his haggard face, I felt none of the old anger, only a flicker of pity. Dad, who is this man? My son asked curiously. Chen Yuan held the child's hand. It's nothing, just an old acquaintance of your mother's. Li Ming looked at my happy family, his eyes filled with regret. Xiaoyu, if back then I hadn't, I cut him off. Li Ming, what's done is done. I don't hate you anymore. But I won't forgive you either. I took a few hundred yuan from my wallet and handed it to him. Take this, find a job and start over. Li Ming's hands trembled as he accepted the money, tears welling up in his eyes. Thank you. I turned and walked away, holding my child's and husband's hands, stepping into a bright, sunlit future. Behind me was Li Ming, kneeling on the ground, a figure consumed by a lifetime of regret and remorse. In this life, I am no longer that Lin Xiaoyu who was deceived and abandoned. I have taken control of my own destiny and reaped the rewards of true happiness. As for Li Ming, he is forever condemned to live with the bitter fruits of his own actions, with no hope of redemption. This is the most fitting retribution. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.